Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity that I have to run for mayor. I've been involved in Bradford for over 20 years, and I believe the time has come to seek the elected office. I've been here for many years, and I understand the needs of our community. They haven't really changed in a long time. There is more now. I believe that my 25 years of experience as a businessman and IT professional, it's going to help our town, and our economic progression. I want to bring some fresh ideas and positive solutions to Bradford while running for mayor. I've been concerned about supporting our local businesses. I believe there are workable solutions available that will enhance their success. One of my main priorities would be to support the economic development. I know that is a huge issue right now, and we need to take full control on that. We are blessed to be in the central area of Southern Ontario. We're so blessed to be so close to Toronto. We have the potential of having many businesses moving to town. We have a lot of issues with youth, with sports, but we're a growing community. This is like having a big house and we're renovating, so we have to spend time and the money to renovate and then hope for tenants to move in. I worked with many seniors through the last 20 years, and I know they're very valuable. Volunteers are a great asset to our community. And it's time to truly shape the future of Bradford now. For all residents, both young and old, it is time to shift from an active volunteer to an active leader in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I've actually been given a request for the candidates. If you don't mind standing, just take the microphone so that they can actually see you when you're speaking. No, it's okay. Rob? They couldn't see you at the back.
Okay, good evening everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. Thank you as well to the Holland Marsh Growers Association and the Bradford Board of Trade for hosting this event tonight. My name is Rob Keffer and I'm running for mayor. For the past 4 years, I have been your deputy mayor. Together, our town council has done many good things, and we work together and continue the great work of previous councils working with the province and federal government. As some people might want you to believe, it's not one person that moves our town forward, it's a group effort in all of town council. I am proud of my efforts to kickstart public transit in Bradford. They were successful and they will serve a good basis for bus service in our town in the future. And I'm proud, along with other members of council, to have successfully met with the province to push for a family health center and better access for local health care. While I didn't agree with the poor budgeting model that the current mayor eventually pushed through, I am committed to continuing working with the province to bring more doctors to town. Now, poor budgeting is one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor. Take the Dissette Street debacle. We're going to lose at least $20 million over that, and the incumbent brushed it off as wouldn't take any criticism and refused to accept accountability. One of Mr. White's supporters actually compared the Dissette debacle to the gas plant. And it's not, it's worse. It's worse per capita, and Mr. White has never accepted responsibility. The Premier did accept responsibility, and she's changing ways of budgeting. That's what we have to do in this town. We need a new leader, we need a new mayor that will use common sense, look after the budgeting process, listen to the people, and work for the betterment of our town. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. A week ago, I had the opportunity, along with my daughters, of attending the 20th anniversary of the Bradford Community Church. And we had the pleasure of listening to a fantastic public speaker. And he challenged the listeners that as you live your lives, Your dreams must be greater than your memories. That's exactly how I feel about our town. That is why I first ran for mayor. Bradford has a proud history, but our greater days are still ahead. Our town was built on agriculture, there's no question about that. We still are the salad bowl of Ontario. Over the years, many people have moved to Bradford to call it home, and most of those people are employed in areas other than agriculture. So my goal as mayor has always been to build a complete community here. Now what does that mean? More recreation. That led to our leisure center, our new library, and great new parks, trails, green space. It means more places for you to shop and spend your money locally. We've had dozens of new businesses open. You're now spending more of your time and money here in businesses that pay taxes to our municipality. We opened a new medical building. 2 new doctors have come to town. People are going to be served by healthcare locally and won't have to leave our community. And the third and most important piece in all of this is employment. According to StatsCan, between 2001 and 2011, 2,700 new jobs have been created in our town. Let's keep that momentum going. And where's the best place to put those jobs? Highway 400. It's about time that more of our residents had jobs close to our community that are similar to the jobs they now commute to every day. Good paying jobs in industrial parks, corporate head offices, and a hotel and convention center. Those are the jobs that you're going to see in a few short years in our town, and they will contribute millions of dollars of tax revenue over the next 20 years, and that'll help us to build a complete community, a fair community, a community where each and every one of us will benefit. And if re-elected mayor, these are the plans that I will continue to put into practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Those are the mayoral candidates. We're now going to hear from the deputy mayor candidates. Let's start with you, Carl.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, and I do sincerely mean that. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the honor, giving me the honor to serve on the. Thank you for giving me the honor to serve the last 4 years on council, and considering me for. Closer. Sorry. Considering me for the office of deputy mayor. My focus during the last 4 years has been on learning, and I have learned a great deal. I have learned that one councillor can demand accountability and get it. Concerning our largest single budget item, policing. I learned that ignoring the police budget for the last 17 years was a mistake, and that I could take action, just like the public wants and the public expects. Today, we have a police budget that is decreasing, while still providing excellent police service to our town. I have learned that we have a world-class library and leisure facilities, while keeping taxes low, by getting on board a team and following through on good plans. I have learned that it is important to read all the material provided to councillors for our meetings, and that is a lot of work. I have learned that with some effort, I can move our farmers market to the new library. I have learned that a good idea can become reality with regards to our electronics recycling waste weekend, where recycled material can be cashed in and money earned can be directed to 2 special charities, one being the Bradford Food Bank and the other being Bradford Community Meals. I've learned that with some effort, teamwork, we can have a medical center in our town. I have learned that talking to constituents and dealing with their concerns is why we get elected. I have learned that we need to support our business with enthusiasm, understanding, and allowing them the confidence to grow jobs here in Bradford. I have worked hard these last 4 years, and I promise to continue to work hard if elected deputy mayor. I will provide leadership, teamwork, and individual initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Finally, James, you're up.
Good evening, esteemed colleagues and honored guests. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you this evening to speak with you. I'm running as your candidate for deputy mayor to continue what I feel is important work for the residents of Bradford, West Gwillimbury. I have enjoyed my past 8 years as councillor and feel that I have served my wards in Bradford, West Gwillimbury well. I'm not afraid to speak up when difficult questions need to be asked, and I will focus my efforts accordingly to ensure I effectively perform my duties as your next deputy mayor. I've been a member of several Bradford West Gwillimbury committees, and I also have strong advocate for our agriculture base, one which is a large part of our community and must be a continued focus when making important decisions. Our town is growing at a fairly high rate of speed, bringing lots of changes to the look and feel of our town. Strong leadership is going to get us to the place where we need to be, a better Bradford, West Gwillimbury. With your continued support, I will, as your deputy mayor, ensure that decisions made are in the best interest of our community. I will ensure that your tax dollars are being spent to leverage our strengths. I believe in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. I'm committed to Bradford, West Gwillimbury, and consider it my home. I believe in you. I will be your champion for increased transparency of municipal business and decision making. That promises made will be promises kept. I feel my track record supports this. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I promise more of what you have come to rely on me for. I'm a proponent of affordable seniors housing, leveraging our downtown strengths, responsible economic growth, and we must protect our environment and make our decisions as green as possible for the generations behind us. On October 27th, vote James Leduc, your voice as Deputy Mayor. Thank you very much.
So we'll open with a question for all of you. In view of the fact that so much industry is moving its operations offshore, what plan do you have to attract new industry? And can you assure me, not me, but can you assure the audience that the employment land will not be converted to housing, which is more lucrative for developers? We'll start with James.
All right, thank you for the question. Well, one of my key platform issues are jobs, and we need to bring jobs to Bradford. Manufacturing is a big sector of Ontario, and I think we need to go through the province and push the province to make sure that manufacturing stays in Ontario. We have lost jobs with Faurecia moving out of Bradford, but hopefully in the future we'll get a few new ones coming back with the potential of a new business coming to Bradford. I will push all I can to make sure with the province that we bring jobs here. We need jobs here. I travel every day to the city of Toronto, and it is crazy. I don't want my kids doing that for their future. I'd like to see them working somewhere around here. So I will, with my commitment to you, my promise, to work with the province, work with the county, and ensure that we bring jobs to Bradford for the future of our success. Thank you.
Carl, please.
Thank you for the question. New industry, yes, it's very important. Since 2010, when I was elected to council as a Ward 4, I've been a big supporter of our employment lands on the 400. My support has not wavered. I've been steadfast in that support because we need jobs here in Bradford. And as to the mention of that land being changed over to houses because it's more lucrative, no, that's not going to happen. The province has stated that those 1,800 acres on the 400 will be for jobs, industrial, commercial, which this town desperately needs more of. Yes, we have existing industrial commercial jobs on Regan's and on Artesian Parkway, but we need some on the 400. People drive here to Toronto every day. I see it, the lineup right past the Husky on Highway 88. If we can keep a small percentage of those people working here in our municipality, then we've done a great job. And I'm going to work very, very hard to do that. When I do something, I do it 100%, and I will be focusing on jobs and industrial commercial growth for this town, also to help offset the residential taxes. We need to grow our tax base so we can make our town more affordable for our residents. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the question. First of all, converting our most valuable asset in the entire municipality, service land on a 400 series highway to residential, never. Why are we doing this? Why is our job so important? For the longest time, Bradford was a community where a lot of people slept here at night and worked elsewhere. It continues to be that way for many, many people. We need those jobs. We need the tax revenue we generate from those jobs. For example, the Walmart Plaza, $1.2 million in property taxes every year paid. On my website, I supplied an example of a company that's on Reagents Industrial Parkway that employs 75 people and just expanded to hire another 75 people. That company, which is on a 5-acre footprint, contributes close to $200,000 in property taxes. On the 400, we will be able to replicate that tens of times over. The Canadian economy, yeah, it goes up and down. Economists have said that forever, particularly in the automotive sector. But here's the challenge that we have. In the province of Ontario, we're going to have 3 million more people move to the Greater Toronto Area in the next 25 years. There's an estimated 1 million new jobs are going to be created. I want some of those jobs to come here. I want our folks to have shorter commutes. I want employment to be local, and I want the tax revenue to come here so we have the flexibility to improve your lives without constantly digging into the pockets of our residential property taxpayers. That's what every successful municipality does. And take a look at every 400 series highway in the Greater Toronto Area. What do you see? Jobs. And in a few short years, that's what you're going to see in Bradford, West Gwillimbury on our 400. Jobs, employment, and tax revenue.
I have a more economical and faster plan to get jobs to Highway 400. The one thing about manufacturing plants and the owners of these manufacturing plants, they want to make a profit, and they want a place to go that is economical, that the costs aren't overwhelming to set up shop in a particular area. And my plan to take the sewers out County Road 88 and start at the 88 interchange at Highway 400 is much quicker and much more economical. The one problem with the Fifth Line interchange and starting our jobs there is it's $200 million of infrastructure that has to be put forward. $54 million for the interchange, another $54 million to get the roads out there. When you add in the sewers and water to go to the employment lands and then on into the village of Bondhead, we're over $200 million. And that has to be paid for by a large percentage of the employment land area there and the buildings that are put there. And that's a big problem with, manufacturing in Bradford. So that's the difference between myself and Mr. White. I have an economical plan, a faster plan. We do have eager landowners at Highway 488. We have entrepreneurs, and we'll work with them to bring jobs to our 400 lands. And in 4 years' time, we'll have jobs there, and we will be able to say that the employment lands are giving fruit to the tax base of this town. Thank you.
The reason I and my family moved to Bradford 22 years ago is because we had a bicycle distribution company. We now compete at a global level. We need to be creative. My job for the last 22 years is to consult with businesses and also IT companies. And one of the things we did at the time is because Japan was very expensive. We had bicycles. We actually moved that production, we moved it to Canada. So believe it or not, we manufacture bicycles in Canada by Canadians. And the quality was as good as Japanese. We have to be creative. We have this fiber optic network that comes through Bradford that stops at the library, but no one else knows that exists. We can approach IT companies. We don't have to just do manufacturing. We're so close to the airport. That was one of the reasons we moved here. We're 45 minutes. We have a 905 area code. Most of our shipping costs from Bradford is the same as from Toronto. It's great for distribution companies. It's great for IT companies. We have a number of IT people that work in town. They all go to Toronto. They will love to be here. They love to stay here. There's a lot of other ways to bring businesses to town. I think we need to bring the job-creating businesses to our community, not just coffee shops or pizza and donut shops. Thank you.
We have several questions of the same vein, and this is for everybody. We'll start with you, Carl. I guess the easiest way to say it is, where do each of you stand on seniors housing, and what are your plans?
Thank you for the question. Seniors housing. My mother's right here with me today, supporting me. My mother's been with me on my campaign. I've been door knocking through the town. I visited over 9,000 people, some young, some old. A lot of our residents have had to leave this municipality to go to Allison, Barrie, Brampton, Newmarket. That shouldn't happen. I was at Miller Park a few weeks ago visiting with some residents there, and I was so lucky as to be brought up to one of the apartments. Very nice. I'd like to see another Miller Park, 1 or 2, maybe 3. I'd like to see some apartments, some condominiums. There's a waiting list down at Bradford Valley, 242 people. We could have another Bradford Valley here in Bradford. And I'd like to work with the county, the town, and the development community, and if we can get the province on board, to create some more seniors housing here in Bradford. Our seniors contribute their time to our municipality. They're involved in our service groups. They're involved in everyday life. And they're also part of our local economy. And that's very important to this municipality. So I will work very hard, and my mother is my own motivation to see that I get something done for seniors housing here in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. And I will work at that very, very hard.
Coming out of the last election, council got together, and this was a strategic priority for us. So we appointed a committee. We put 2 of our senior members of council, the late Ron Simpson and Councillor Gary Lamb, who had a passion for this particular subject. And that led to our seniors housing study. And that was pretty crystal clear. Our residents want an affordable adult lifestyle community right in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. The challenge, however, is that these people, the price point to build this is over what these people in the study were willing to pay. When people downsize their homes, they want to have equity in their home. And the very success we've been having in bringing young professionals to town to buy houses to raise their kids is causing an increase in the property values in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. So a bungalow, for example, runs you $450,000. So we need to approach it the exact same way we've approached doctors. Doctors weren't coming until the town invested ourselves and converted the library into a medical center. The town needs to be similarly proactive when it comes to seniors housing. Take an asset the town owns, take some land the town owns, partner with a developer, build that seniors community, and what that will do is it'll bring the price point down so it's where people are willing to actually pay for it. And what I'm talking about are bungalows, semis, towns, condos, and then a medical facility at some point so people can actually age in place. We need these kinds of options, but we need to accept the fact that it has to be at a price point that people are willing to pay. And at this point, this is the biggest challenge we're facing in town.
It is very important that in this next term of council that we do get seniors housing. It has been disappointing the last 4 years that just nothing seems to have been built. And it's up to the mayor and the council to make it a priority, to realize that we have to work with all different avenues to get seniors housing constructed, built, and out there for our seniors before they leave our town. We do have entrepreneurs in our town, actually people that have vision, that have saved money, and realize that our town is a good place to invest. We have to reach out to them, make it easier for them to be able to build, to go through the red tape process, to be able to smooth the way so that they're able to build these mid-rise condominiums or whatever they have planned for the parcels of land that they already own. They are out there, it is possible. As well, there's land set aside in each community area that the developers own. Unfortunately, it is more profitable for them to build single-family homes and larger homes. And it's up to council to get tougher. And if we have to draw a line in the sand and say no more water units until we get some affordable housing, mid-rise condominiums, whatever as a council we decide that are important to us, we have to draw that line in the sand. And there are church groups that would love to partner with a developer or an organization. So there are solutions out there. It's up to the mayor and council to delve into these solutions and get the job done. Thank you.
I prefer to call them senior able housing. meaning that in a few years I'll need that. I just don't want stairs in the house. Now, for the last few weeks already, or a few months now, I've been asked to look into this by some seniors that do not want to move out of town. Now, I've been to Japan, I've been to Palm Springs. They're incredible senior able neighborhoods, meaning that many of us can live there and it makes it a lot easier for us to do. The developers are allowed to build an average of 500 homes a year. We should request that they would do 10% of them, which are called senior able housing. Some of, like my parents, are willing to pay good price for a house as long as they can live in it. They don't have to go to second floor or basement. They have everything is set. And that will actually allow us to bring industry to town, because some of the families that I know are leaving their parents behind because there is no home for them here. Now, you have to understand there's different levels. There's the real need, there's a senior homes that need care for them. But there's a lot of us that in a few years will like to stay here and don't need full care. It's not a brain surgery. This is happening all over the world. I was in France this summer for a couple of weeks, and they're going through the same issue there. They're able to solve it. They're talking to the developers. They're building, they're called the senior able homes. So I think we have choices to do, and we'll do them.
And James, you get the final word.
Thank you for the question again. Well, it's my number one issue, affordable seniors housing. And I've heard some great plans here, but I haven't heard much about action. And I will take action in the next 4 years for sure to put affordable seniors housing in this community. I think the first thing we need to do is go out and get an investment group. There's lots of people in this community, and I think the Deputy Mayor touched on it, there's lots of people in this community that might want to invest in something like this. I think they can partner with the council, we have property, get the investment group, set up an independent board, and we can have housing here for the seniors very soon. If we wait for the developers to do it for us, they're not going to. It's been said by the mayor. They're not going to put affordable seniors housing here because they're not making enough profit on it. We need to take charge as a council and make that happen. Last 8 years I've sat here and I haven't been able to put that as a major issue. We haven't pushed that. We need to now push that. I've been out of doors. I haven't been to 9,000 yet, but I hope to get there eventually. But I talk to seniors all the time. And there was one lady I had to call the other night. She was just extremely angry because her parents lived here all her life. She bought a house next door to her, and her parents had to move to Allison because her mother hurt herself and she had nowhere to go. We've got to stop that. So with my plan, I hope we can stop that. I will make that the focus of my priority for over the next term of council if I'm elected as your deputy mayor. Thank you.
Just a reminder, folks, if you could put your phones on vibrate so that we don't hear any of the funky tones that come out. This is for all of you. Doug, you'll start this one. Do you support the preservation of our historical homes and buildings? And if you do you have a specific plan to implement such preservation? By the way, we had 4 questions about this.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the first thing the town has to do is show leadership ourselves. And this year, we finally got around to designating the old town hall and the old kirk. That's very, very significant. What we need to do is we have to work with people that live in historic homes, who have lovingly maintained them, have invested in them. These folks are proud of and they love their homes. We need to work with these people and designate these properties. It won't cost any money, it won't cost the taxpayer a dime, and we add to our inventory of houses that have been designated. That's the first thing that we need to do. The second thing we need to do is when it comes to the Heritage Registry, we need to put homes on there and make sure that when homes are purchased and rented, that they're not allowed to be put into a state of deterioration where the cost of actually retrofitting and fixing up the home now becomes enormous. So when it comes to the registry, let's add these properties to it so that we can make decisions as to what the future will be if any application comes forward. But at the end of the day, the town has to take leadership here, ladies and gentlemen, and I think we have with the 2 buildings that we've designated. And we've gone from 2 to 3 to 5, and we have to get up to 20, 25. But the easiest, simplest way of doing that is working with people that are living in historically significant homes now that have been preserved, that don't require significant investment because it's already been done. And then that is how we can build a track record to move forward, where we can have a historic tour where every single home is heritage designated. It shouldn't take us that long to get there if we work with willing homeowners.
I sit on the Heritage Committee right now, and part of my policy for Heritage is that if I'm elected mayor, I will sit on the Heritage Committee again for the next 4 years to shepherd it through, to try and get more homes and more communities involved with the heritage of their community, with the flavor of their community, and respect the historic nature of the community. Not just the individual homes, but the community. On Friday, I had a tour of the old Bradford High School. Am I ever glad that we put it on the Heritage Registry? I was very, very impressed when I was inside. The size and scale of the interior is very impressive. It's up to the school board to declare it surplus, and then it'll go through a process to see who will be the next owner of it. But certainly it is a fine asset for our town to have the old Bradford High School on Queen Street. As far as the town with their heritage designated buildings, it is very good that we have that, but those aren't the buildings that are in jeopardy. It's the historic buildings that developers own or that are deteriorating, and that's the buildings that we have to concentrate on. We have to save the important parts of our town, keep the flavor of the town. We don't expect individual people to really, go above and beyond with their heritage home and then have the very next door neighbor not take any care at all. So I will work with the community. We will have a good heritage committee and work towards saving our communities. Thank you.
20 years ago, I remember debating with Mickey about the heritage homes. We lost a few, we couldn't save them. But there is some, and there's a lot of them, they're still there. One of the proposals that I had a couple of years ago is that some of the developers are going to tear them down. Sometimes there's nothing we can do. I was in France, I was so impressed because the idea that I proposed 20 years ago was to save those homes and move them all in the same neighborhood and create a little village. We're driving in the south of France, and guess what? They have done it. They've done it before us. They were able to save some homes, put them together, and guess what? They created a great tourism destination area. They're promoting their local artists, their local musicians, their food, their wines. But it's amazing that they were having the same issues that we're having here. In France, they're really sticky about their old homes. And they were saved, they were moved. Now, there was a trick to do this move because they have financing from businesses. So they have funding that came from not your pockets, for someone else. So they promote a name, but they were able to save the homes. Now, the local homes, one day are going to be surrounded by new homes. The idea is to make sure that we can combine them and we can design and keep the small town feeling. We can talk to the developers and try to change some of the design so the area still looks like it used to 100 years ago in a quaint looking way. Thank you.
Hang on just for a sec, James. Had a nice gesture up here. I was going to say the same thing before Raj actually did it. If any of you that are sitting down are tired of sitting, just put your hand up, and I'm sure that some of these people at the back that have been standing would be very grateful for you to exchange a seat. And then maybe what you can do is just change back with that same person later on. All right, James? No, I'm sorry, Carl, you can't get up and leave your seat.
All right, again, thank you for the question. Yes, I will say right now I do support heritage historical buildings in Bradford. I've been out and seen them, and I think they're just gorgeous and beautiful. I will tell you that in the next term of council, I will fight to make that registry list put there in Bradford for us to save those buildings. I didn't At the time of 108 Moore, I didn't have a clue what was going on there until they actually came to council, and I met them at the council and heard about that issue there. I don't want to see that happen in our communities. I think our communities are beautiful. I don't mind the development going out in the west. The builders are doing a fine job out there. I'd love to see our community in the east side of Bradford stay the same when it comes to the housing in there. There's some great buildings in there and some great opportunities. I was a champion for the Fred C. Cook High School. I never attended it, but I had heard stories from late Councillor Simpson and others that attended that school, and I had a chance to tour that before. I wasn't at Friday's tour, but I had been through that building before, and it was just beautiful, and I realized that was just a history that we could not lose in this community. I want my children to learn about the history of Bradford. We've only been here 18 years, but we've loved it. They were just young children when they came here, and they're now young adults, and I think that they are learning a lot about this community, and I think I'd like to make sure that we continue to keep the historical heritage preservation for Bradford. So I will support that, and I make sure that I will be definitely a proponent of doing that. So I hope I get your support on that one.
Thank you. Yes, heritage is very important to me. I've resided with my wife and children in Bondhead for the last 22 years, and we have a lot of heritage homes out there, as well as downtown Bradford. The thing with heritage is it seems to be a very misunderstood subject by some people, and that to me is a big problem. I've been following along with Cookstown, what's been happening there over the past few months, and it's split the community. And that's something I do not want to see happen here in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, whether it be in Bondhead, whether it be in downtown Bradford. We have to educate people with regards to heritage. It's important. It's nice to go look at old buildings. Hernan travels a lot. He spends time in France, and there's a lot of history in Europe. And there's a lot of history here in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. Yes, it's important that we preserve it. There's been a lot of talk of Heritage Conservation District. Again, that's what's happened in Cookstown, and it's split the community. So education is very, very important with regards to heritage. And one thing I would like to say, I'd like to thank the homeowners because they're doing their best thing possible by preserving heritage, and that's by living in their homes. And I would also suggest to them that they get their homes listed and put them on the registry. And I wouldn't even rule out, I mean, how many houses in Bondhead have been there for 175 years? We have houses here in Bradford that have probably been here just as long. Think about how much tax dollars those homes have paid to the municipality. Maybe it is time for the municipality to give back in some type of tax incentive for people to improve their heritage homes. But that's something that I would like to discuss, if elected as your deputy mayor, with future council. Thank you.
Rob, this question will start with you. Do you support the creation of a lobbyist registry that would make public any contributions or perks, like golf or lunch, to elected officials that have been received on behalf of those lobbying the town, like developers?
I know at County Council, we have had private discussions about this. At County Council, the county councillors aren't at Midhurst all the time, and we really don't know what is happening. Who's seeing who, as far as people going with development applications and talking to people at County Council. Now at the local level, at Bradford West Gwillimbury, it would have to be carefully thought out. But of course, I can't see anything wrong with it. If people want to make an application and visit a department and discuss a project, that I could see that there would be advantages to let people know. Really, it is a novel idea. It's done at the higher levels of government. And just to have transparency and openness with careful thought and with community input, yes, I would be in favor of a register.
I was born in a country down under, the other side of the world, and they're the first country in America to have a transparent government. It's the country of Chile, and they do not believe in taking money from developers, and it's very clear in the past what's happened. So I would agree with that, then we should not. We cannot take money. I personally did not take money from any developer in town, and it's clear. I know it's an issue. It's one of the biggest issues that I dealt with, because people are saying, if you take the money, you can make more signs, do that and that. But no, I agree with creating transparency in our municipal government.
Yes, thank you again for that question. You know what? It just goes right back to my opening statement. Increased transparency of municipal business decision-making. That's a lobbyist registry. We want to make sure that if somebody's lobbying us, they're registered. This is more transparency. This is what I want to make sure that we do. We want to be exactly transparent. I'm like Hernan, I have not taken any money from a developer. I've got 3 donations so far, 2 from Lions and 1 from my local union. I figure I got my union dues back for the year, because you do nothing else for me. So that's my mandate. That's one of my goals, is to make sure it's much more transparent and open. I have a great relationship with developers, don't get me wrong. I speak with them, we deal with them, and I have no problem working with them. But as long as they're registered, that's what we need to do. That makes the decision that's much more transparent. I have, in this campaign, I've made sure that everything I've done is right here local, including all my signs, all my shirts, everything. I've supported 4 businesses in town right here, because you know why? I believe in the business community, I believe in Bradford, and that's what I want to see. So thank you very much.
Carolyn, you're up. Thank you. Again, I also believe in transparent government. As to campaign donations, I've heard mention that a few times. Some of us middle-class citizens like myself can't afford to fund our campaign, whether it be $21,000 or whether it be $15,000. And we need donations. I need donations from family members and businesses within the town. I think it's important. And yes, if developers are lobbying the town, we should be aware of it, and so should the public. But for my opponents, if you think $750 is going to buy a vote in council for what's happening in the future of Bradford, I think you're sadly mistaken. $750 won't buy me, and it won't buy anybody else. It's a donation to a campaign, which I don't see as an issue. And whether it's a local business or whether it's a local person, campaign donations are required, especially for someone like myself, a middle-class income earner. Thank you.
Doug, the final word to you.
It seems this question has 2 parts to it. The first is lobbyist registry. I don't see any need for it whatsoever. If anything, as mayor, I'm the one doing the lobbying. I'm the one at Queen's Park. I'm the one talking to ministries. I'm the one talking to cabinet ministers. I'm the one talking to deputy ministers. I'm the one doing the lobbying. You know, I have not met a lobbyist pitching anything to the town the entire time I've been mayor. The proponents sometimes do, but they do that to council. So I think it's, I see no need for it whatsoever in our municipality. Regarding campaign finance, I'm in the same position as most of the people on our council. I'm not a multi-millionaire. I don't own hundreds of acres of land. I can't afford to put $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 of my own money into my campaign. So I fundraise. I haven't taken a cent from developers, nor will I. My money is coming from friends, family, businesses that those friends and family own, and a who's who of Bradford business. That's where it's coming from. And I've knocked on many, many doors, and I can tell you people have a lot of issues on their mind. But no one's brought up a lobbyist registry, and no one's brought up campaign finance. Nobody. They care about bigger issues, and that's what's on their mind when I meet with them at the door. They talk about the future of our town and the vision that I have and other candidates have. I think this is the really important thing to be dealing with in this election.
Do any of you at present stand in conflict of interest or face litigation possibly regarding voting on issues in council? And Herman, you don't have a vote. The question, do any of you at present stand in conflict of interest or face litigation possibly regarding voting on issues in council?
I'm not in council, so
That means you don't have a vote. Then you don't even have anything to say. James, it's up to you.
Wow, that took a while. Yeah, no, I have never had to worry about a conflict of interest. I own my property at 209 Frederick. It's not getting developed, and I own no other property in Bradford. So I work for the University of Toronto, and I just have no issue, never have. I have stepped aside one time when we're dealing with a Lions Club, because I'm a Lions member, but I have no personal gain from that. There's nobody in the Lions Club that has any personal gain when we do anything in this community. We do this for the community. All the money goes back to the community. There's no paid official or anything. So I have absolutely no conflict of interest at all. I'm not being litigated for anything because there's nothing to litigate before. So I have nothing to worry about. Thank you.
Just a simple no. I own my house with my wife in Bond Head, and never have had any type of litigation issue with regards to any decisions made at council.
The short answer for me is no, but I want to explain to our residents that we're very, very careful about this in council. One of the first things that we prepare new councillors for is we bring in an expert in this area as part of our orientation and make it clear that when in doubt, declare. You know, if you think that there's any chance that anyone might suspect that you have a vested financial interest, direct or indirect, then you should declare. It's not up to the mayor, it's not up to council, it's not up to staff to make decisions for members of council, it's up to them themselves. So if they feel that they are free to vote, that's their decision. But it's also the right of a member of the public who questions that to take action. And that is in the legislation, and people have the right to do that. But personally, I've never declared on anything. The only thing I own in Bradford is the house my wife and I live in with my daughters. I've had nothing that even remotely would make me even think of declaring either here or at the county.
I take the concerns of conflict of interest very seriously. There was a letter forwarded to me 2 years ago. I sought legal counsel. I sought legal counsel before I voted on the issue. The local lawyer went to a Bay Street law firm and had their expert on conflict of interest look at the issues. After it came back, it was decided that I could go ahead and discuss this issue and vote on this issue, that I was not in a conflict. I do not own any property in the employment lands or adjoining the employment lands. I do not own any property in OPA 16. I was elected as deputy mayor to represent the people of this town, and I take that very seriously, and I will not be bullied or intimidated not to speak up when it is time to speak up. So I am not under litigation. There is nothing concrete that has come forward to suggest in any way that I am in conflict, and it is only rumors and innuendo. So I thank you for this opportunity for clearing this up. I have always acted in the best way, with integrity, and I value very strongly earning the trust of the people of Bradford West Gwillimbury, and I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Okay, I guess that was a good answer then, Rob. I was just asking, there was 3 questions on it, so. And we have another question for everybody. Who would like to start this one? I will volunteer anybody. Oh, Herman, why don't we start with you?
Another easy question.
It's another easy question for you. You can actually have a thought on this one. What are your thoughts on the proposed cost of the $50 million new administrative center, which will have no clear benefit to taxpayers due to the massive price tag?
Well, that was an easy one. 20 years ago, we had this discussion. It's been 20 years since we've been talking about fixing downtown and having an administration center. It's taken 4 administrations, nothing has been done. $50 million, if we did it back then, would have been half of that, maybe less than half of that. The cost of having the different offices spread out all over Bradford, it's a nuisance. Every time I gotta go somewhere, half of the staff there needs to be somewhere else. It's just not feasible to have them all spread out. The cost of $50 million might go up. It all depends on how careful we are. And we need to study some of the options we had in the last 20 years, which some of them were very good, and we just didn't take them. If we took them back then, it would have been done by now. I was involved with the town of Bradford. I was their first IT manager at the time. This is way back. And I remember looking at the plans of this administration center, and from one year to the next, all of a sudden it became a library. So the library was supposed to be the administration center back then, and the cost was not $50 million. So we need to review that and see what options we had in the past, and 50 is kind of steep. We can probably pull it off for a lot less than that.
James?
Yeah, when I look at my literature, it doesn't come on my literature, so no, there's no absolute way I'd support a town hall right now at $50 million. It's not my priority. My number one priority is affordable seniors housing, jobs for Bradford, and reducing taxes if we're at all possible. So $50 million is not in my target site for our taxpayers. I don't think we can afford it at this time. We have a great opportunity at the 400 employment lands where we have some business out there, that developers out there that are going to build some great properties. And to speak of one at the corner of 88 and 400, he's looking to put in a hotel and possibly a conference center. I've seen the drawings, some commercial retail space. And if we need to amalgamate a few departments, we could probably get out there, a perfect location on the 400 to advertise Bradford, and put some of our offices out there at a very reduced cost per square footage. So no, I will not support a $50 million expense for Bradford right now. We just cannot afford that.
Thank you for the question. Again, the key word on that for me is proposed. We've had discussions this previous council with, should we have our administration center at the library or should we have the administration in the downtown? No decision was made on that. That'll be up to future council, but as to spend $50 million, I couldn't justify spending $50 million of our taxpayers' hard-earned money on an administration building. But something I would like to know if I was elected as deputy mayor in the next term of council is, what does it cost us as taxpayers to lease multiple locations throughout the town? What does it cost us as taxpayers to have staff driving back and forth throughout the town to different locations? Those are things that we should have answers to. And if we do have some extra money, we should spend it on some rural roads need repair. There's a lot of roads throughout town that need repair, and I've painfully seen that myself in all my travels over the last 17 weeks. And again, if we did have some extra money, I'd also like to see that invested in some type of seniors housing partnership with the town. Thanks very much.
I respectfully reject the premise of the question. $50 million is ridiculous. That's more than we paid for our leisure center. So whoever put the question forward, it's a number I've never heard of before. What's only been proposed in drawings that we've seen, and it's just preliminary, is a 55,000 square foot building, not a $55 million building. So, ladies and gentlemen, take that figure of $50 million and throw it out of your head, because it doesn't exist. This question is complete fiction. My position on this has been clear and consistent the entire time I've been on council. At some point, we're going to need a consolidated administration building. We are in 7 different buildings throughout the municipality right now. So you do a financing plan and figure out if you can afford it. If you can afford it, then there's only one place to build it that would have spin-off economic benefit, and it's right in the downtown core of Bradford, West Gwillimbury. That's where you would have spin-off benefit. But you only do this kind of thing after you figure out how much are you paying on rent, how much are you going to be able to sell in municipal assets. This is all part of the financial plan. Trust me when I tell you that a 55,000 square foot building would be nowhere near $50 million. It would be in the $300 a square foot range, not unlike what our leisure center was. And that building is 160,000 square feet. So, do we need an administration building at some point? Yes. This next term of council? Probably not. But at some point we need it. But I respectfully submit that that question is complete and total fiction made up by the writer.
We can't afford to build an administration center at this time. There's more important priorities that, quite frankly, our town staff, although they are housed in different areas of the town, the buildings that they are in are quite adequate. Our offices are well kept up. And I think that in this term of council, I am not looking forward towards building a new administration office. And quite frankly, I'm worried that we'll be over our borrowing limit with all the infrastructure that has to go in place if we're going to move forward with 400 lands and the infrastructure to bond head. We can't afford to borrow enough money to build a new town hall. So let's hold tight. Let's look after taxpayers' dollars, and let's look after what we have now and keep our employees happy as best we can. Thank you.
Doug, I'll start this one with you. The question is about debt. There's three of them. They all come down to the same thing. How much debt is Bradford West Gwillimbury in currently? What is its long-term debt? And how is it going to be paid?
Legislation specifies the maximum amount you're allowed to borrow. 25% of your revenues. We're nowhere near that. We spend not even a quarter of what our debt limit is. So we've been very, very responsible when it comes to spending. For example, the Leisure Center, a $40 million building, $16 million is left to pay that off. A debenture has been taken and it'll be completely paid off, not by you, the taxpayer, but by the developers through the development charges. And let me make one thing perfectly clear about servicing Highway 400. All of those funds, all of them, are being upfronted by the development community. I've often been said, people have challenged me and said, you know what, it's about time the developers pay their fair share. Doug, are the developers paying their fair share? And I say no, they're paying more than their fair share in two key areas. Number one, when I became mayor, our average expenditure on parkland was $35,000 an acre. It was embarrassing. No wonder our parks were worse than virtually any municipality around us. We negotiated with the developers to bump that up to $95,000 an acre. They're contributing more towards parks than the development charges legislation requires them to. Furthermore, the early payment agreement that Deputy Mayor Keffer and others voted against, that required the developers not only to upfront their costs, but the town's costs, the so-called benefit to existing. That's $12 million that they're upfronting, that they are not required to, because we negotiated it. And the reason why we negotiated it is members of council stood firm and said, you developers are coming to town and you're profiting without question, but you're going to leave behind a legacy for this municipality. And that legacy is that we are going to have service land on the 400 highway and bring jobs here, and that's the most valuable commodity any municipality can have. And that's why our neighbors, particularly Innisfil and Barrie, look at us longingly and with envy, because we've been able to do that.
In the 2013 financial statement, it says we have $43 million in debentures. A fair bit, but not too bad. But our situation is different than what that appears to be. From the early payment agreement too, there's $38 million worth of obligations that the developers have upfronted money, and we still have to build the infrastructure with that $38 million. So in a way, we were borrowing money from the developers. There's $38 million there. And as far as the early payment agreement 3, it was structured differently. And basically, The taxpayers are responsible for the employment land development charges. There's $64 million that we have to pay back in 12 years, and the only way that we can pay it back is if we get buildings built at Highway 400. And the amount of buildings is 400,000 square feet a year, every year for 12 years. And it started in 2014. Well, let me tell you, we don't have 400,000 square feet of building out at Highway 400 this year. So already we're behind the 8 ball. So to me, that's a $64 million loan that the developers have given us. And unless we get building out there, we're going to be on the hook for $64 million as taxpayers until eventually we get building. So we have to be careful. We have to be prudent. We have to phase in this infrastructure. And we have to watch out for the taxpayers and respect their dollars.
I agree with Rob. There's going to be a day that we're going to have to pay back the money. At the moment, our interest rates are very low, extremely low. Our housing market is booming, but it's very fragile. I've been to some cities in the States that their booming stopped suddenly a couple of years ago, and now they're stuck. We have to be very careful on how we approach that. We could borrow, because I remember when my parents first bought a house, I was upheld at how much money they're going to spend on this house. But eventually, after 15, 20 years, guess what? They paid it off. But they were very careful on how they did it, and they did not, trust me, did not listen to the bank saying, hey, borrow a bit more, you can do 25%. No, we need to do our own homework and make sure that we're not going to overextend. And our children, I hope they don't have to pay for our mistakes. Thank you.
Yes, we have some risk with EPA 3. When it first came to council, I didn't support it because I didn't like the terms of the agreement. It was the first time we ever had to do that. I went back to the developers called me, went back to them. I asked for an extension of 4 years on the payback plan. They granted us 2 more years. And I took that as a minor win because I hoped that we would get the fifth line interchange over the highway, because that is the key to making development happen in 400 lands. We have kind of potentially mortgaged a little bit of our children's future, but I hope we can, as a strong council in the future, the council can see it forward to move and stay on top of this EPA 3 agreement and make sure we bring development out there. We can mitigate the risk. Part of that debt is the Innisfil water treatment plant. They've started the assessment on there now, so we should see that coming through fairly soon, and Innisfil will pay us back part of that debt. When it boils right down to it, I look at 12 years out. We always mortgage our house. I went out and bought my house and I had to get a mortgage. And I look at the long-term debt, and I feel with when I'm done and my house is done, it's over 25 years mortgage. I paid it off, and I'm hoping that with the debt we have out at the 400 right now, that it's manageable within 12 years. So there is some risk. There's always risk when you're making these types of decisions. But I'll tell you right now, when I sat back in 2005, we missed the Honda head office plant that went to Richmond Hill. If we had some service lands for them, we potentially could have had that right here in Bradford. Not a better place to have Honda's head office than right here, because they're in Allison. They'd have loved to have been here. But we didn't have the land serviced. It's a key cornerstone for us. We need to have serviced lands out at the 400 in order to pay this debt back. So there was risk, and I take responsibility for that.
Thank you very much. For me, hope is not a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We have a good plan for the employment lands on 400. Yes, there's risk involved. It's been mentioned about mortgages too. People move to this community and take out a mortgage. Is it a risk? Yeah, if they lose their job, they could have a problem. We have a plan here for businesses to come to Bradford. And it was mentioned about a number of factories, businesses along 400 and 404. That will be here. I supported this because I didn't want to miss the boat. I wanted to make sure we caught the wave and we make sure we're ready for the future, because the future is coming. As to 64 million, memory serves me correct, it was 54 million to be paid back by 2025. I'd have to go back to check my my paperwork on that one. And as to saving the taxpayers' dollars, I'm very proud to say that it was my initiative that brought an OPP cost into Bradford. Some people weren't happy about it, but I'll tell you, it saved the taxpayers a lot of money over the last 4 years. And it was well worth the effort. It was well worth the personal tax on myself and my family. But at the end of the day, we as taxpayers all benefited by reductions in 2013 and 14 of 3% and another 3% coming in 2015. And if our police budget had been going the way it was, we would have been paying an extra $5 million over that same amount of time. So again, I'm looking out for the taxpayer, I'm working hard for the taxpayer, and I will continue to do so as your deputy mayor.
Okay, Rob, this one's going to start with you. It's a merging of 5 questions that are all virtually the same. First, when the employment land was first introduced, the pattern portion of line 5 was to be hotels and office complexes, and heavy-duty industry was to be at Highway 88 in the north. First, when did that change? And second, doesn't it make more sense to immediately develop along Highway 88 rather than waiting 2 years for the 5th line interchange to be completed?
So my understanding is that that question is a little backwards. When the town requested to get the employment lands, there was meetings with the province and the provincial facilitators, and it led to the Minister's zoning orders. Minister's zoning order 1 is along the 5th line at the 400 interchange, and that was specifically for a heavy industry to move in on 40 acres. And the word then was Tormont. So that's what the initiative was for the employment lands along Highway 400. And Minister Zoning Orders 2 were in the central section. It was higher classification of employment, and it would include the Highway 88 employment node. And there was allowed to be commercial as well as highway commercial. And anyways, the province dictated. I was probably one of the most interested people in all of Bradford West Gwillimbury when the employment lands and OPA 16, the Bondhead plan was coming through. I studied it, I analyzed it, I went to the OMB over it because I had concerns. I had issues that would have helped our town out. The result of the OMB hearing, the adjudicator said that she had no problems with what I said. It was just that the town had already heard my discussions and they chose not to accept them. So I ran for deputy mayor, I was elected, and now I'm running for mayor. We'll see what happens. But I have the common sense, the financial background, and hopefully the wisdom that'll see this through. Thank you.
The province dictated, and we had to follow. Originally, when that area was going to be developed, it was aimed at 488. All of a sudden, somebody had a promise that if we move in, what are you going to do for us? Everything shifted down. Before you know it, there's a lot more money being invested because, hey, these guys are coming for sure. Guess what? They never came. And we have lost other businesses to town because of bureaucracy, maybe. We need to think differently. We have common sense sometimes. We're putting this servicing way through the 5th line instead of putting it through 88. There are some concerns about the sloping and that. But think about it. We already have a 4-lane highway to 488. Why are we going to start putting stuff way in the bottom left of the intersection? It just makes common sense to start in the middle and then go down, not go to the bottom and come up. It just makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
This started before my first term of council. I know it's under ministry zoning orders, and they suggested the industrial lands in the south and the commercial lands in the north. I too would have loved to see a sewer go up 88, because I think that was the way to do the industrial lands. I think we should have started in the north and worked our way to the south. But the ministry zoning orders have it going that way. Engineering has said that the pipe has to go through the 5th line. It was voted and passed through council. And it's hard to change things when you're just unable to have enough support to change stuff. So you need to make change to ensure that we can make changes when we need to make changes, because sometimes, you know what, I don't believe the engineering reports all the time either. I mean, I asked about Dissette. When we were going through Dissette, before we got to expropriation, I asked about running the line through to Artesian and then coming up as a service road along the 404. I was told by engineering that was more expensive than doing the 8th line, paving the 8th line. I couldn't believe it. That's what they told us, that it was more expensive, $4 million more. And look where we are today on Dissette. We're at a huge cost there. And that was the engineering firm that said that, that was going to be more expensive. So that doesn't make it. Sometimes engineering firms are not very reliable in my mind. Like we have to question them. We need a council on there that wants to question these reports and dig into them a lot deeper. I truly would like to see the servicing out on the 88. I was told the sewer too with the grading. I mean, come on, it's forced main. It's forced main, so there's nothing to do with grading in that issue. So I would like to see it out that way. Thank you.
Thank you again for Minister Zoning Orders was previous to my term on council. I have done some reading on it, but I did support the engineering report to bring the services up the 5th line and out to Bon Head in the future for our residents to be able to hook up to wastewater, which is, I think, very important for our area of the world out there, as important it is for residents in Bradford. We have a lot of aging septic tanks in the community, and that's something that needs to be dealt with. As to location of heavy industry, again, it's regulated by the province as to where Toro Mount. I haven't heard any different that they're not coming to Bradford, but I guess that's something we'll have to continue to inquire about. But then as to having a hotel and conference center at 88 and 400, I think that's important. Again, we have a world-class leisure center here in Bradford. We have a lot of folks visiting from out of town, out of province, and even out of country. I was recently visiting my daughter at her place of employment at Krabby Joe's, and I met some of the Bradford Bulls that were visiting from Israel and from Sweden and other countries in Europe. So to have a hotel and conference center built as soon as possible, yes, I would love to see that. It would be an absolute benefit to this community to keep people buying local, shopping local, and staying local when they come to visit Bradford.
My apologies.
You know what? When we are on council, you have to do things that are in the best interest of the people that are living here now, and you have to plan long-term for the greater long-term health of the municipality. You have a duty to do that. Now, the interchange at the 5th line, that is being built because of residential growth. It was in an official plan amendment. That is why the developers are on the hook for their share. So the vision that I always had is our town, under our current official plan, is growing to 50,000 people. Ladies and gentlemen, that's more than enough. So let's leverage that growth to have a legacy in the municipality by having as much of the 400 serviced as possible and have the developers upfront the cost for that. To run a pipe over to 88, to service a hotel and convention center, and not have a vision for any other land on Highway 400 to be serviced is doing a disservice to you. The developers are not paying to service the land to not have their investment come back in the form of new jobs. It's going to happen. I'm very optimistic about the future of this province. And interestingly, 4 years ago when I ran for mayor, people were saying the exact same thing about our leisure center. How can we afford a $40 million leisure center? The town is going to have tons of debt. Taxes are going to go up 15, 20%, people were saying. If you have a long-term financial plan and you stick with the plan, things will work out. There's going to be 1 million new jobs created in the Greater Toronto Area in the next 25 years. Do you not think Bradford deserves that, our slice of that pie? I do. I think our children do, your grandchildren do. We need to create these jobs here and create a balanced, complete community with tax dollars coming from business. But to grow and not provide this would make no sense for our community just to have more people and no jobs.
Actually, Doug, I'll be nice and why don't you just continue standing since you opened it up. The question is right in front. What is your specific plan to find savings in the budget and keep taxes low?
We've done that. Your taxes this term have averaged 1.2%. 1.2%, far less than the rate of inflation, lower than virtually any other municipality around us. That's because we have been fiscally responsible here. We've managed to build a leisure center, a library, start a new bus service. We are improving the canal around the Holland Marsh to protect it forever. We have brought new jobs to town. And all the while, we've kept taxes. This year is 0.37%. And Deputy Mayor Keffer is now saying that that's unacceptable. He supported all 4 of those budgets, ladies and gentlemen. That's inconsistent. He's flip-flopped on that. He now is in favor of jobs on Highway 400, where he for years was opposed. He's now in favor of the Line 5 interchange, when for years he was opposed. You know, moving forward, we have been fiscally responsible. We've actually increased the amount we're spending on roads. We could have delivered a 0% tax increase this year, but that 0.37% represents the capital levy. We know we have to catch up with our roads, but it's not responsible to have 0% tax increases and push off to a later day road and infrastructure improvements. So when I look around and I see what other municipalities' tax increases have been, I compare us at 1.2% very, very favorably. And if members at this table have specific things that they want to cut from the budget, why haven't they done it up until this point? And secondly, if you think that you can lower, an increase by less than 1.2%, then be honest and upfront with these residents and tell them what services will be cut or what user fees are going to go up. You have to be open and honest about those kinds of things.
This is about respect for taxpayers' dollars. We can do better. And I have a 3-point plan. It's in my policy statement on my website, and I've been very specific. Do we realize that we've averaged increase in spending in this town 7.7% over the last 4 years? We've increased spending in this town 7.7%. Surely with that increase in spending, if we went line by line over the budget, and that's council's prerogative. When you elect your council member, you should expect him to roll up his sleeves and go over the books and see where all the spending is going. So surely with a 7.7% increase in spending, we can find some savings. And also, it's respect for taxpayers' dollars. Every year we end up with about $1 million surplus at the end of the year, and the reason is we don't take into account all the new houses that are starting to pay taxes through the year. It just makes common sense that the people that live here now, that have to put up with the aggravation of more growth of dust, dirt, traffic congestion, noise, that we should see some relief from the extra income that's coming in through the new taxpayers. I stressed this as soon as I got on council, and to no avail. And the other thing is development charges. We have to make sure that the development charges are up to date, that the developers are paying their full share. We have to revisit them more often so that the residents aren't stuck with paying these extra costs that the developers should be. So there's my 3-point plan. I've been very specific. I respect you as taxpayers, and I'll work to keep your dollars in your own pocket. Thank you.
Must be election year. Very few tax increases overall in Ontario. But the day that we have to pay back some of our debt, guess what's going to happen to the taxes? We have very few years left. We need to bring new industry. We cannot scare this industry anymore. I haven't seen anything of substance come to town in the last 4, 5, 6 years. We cannot increase, they call them development charges. The economy right now is very fragile. If we start increasing taxes to these developers and we start creating this, the day that the interest rate goes up, it's going to be trouble. The day that our economy, which is very good right now, even slows down a bit, we're going to be in trouble. We can find efficiencies in our town. When I was working for the town years ago, we were probably about 1/3 of what we have now in staff. Now we've grown, we're almost double the size, but I'm sure there's some efficiencies that we can look into it. I don't believe in cutting services. We have more people. We're gonna have to increase the spending on the services. This is just 500 homes a year. How many people is that? That's a lot. So that's what I proposed. Look for efficiencies, bring job-creating businesses to town. Thank you.
Well, I will be a strong fiduciary of your budget money for sure, like I have been for the last 8 years. I have fought tooth and nail to keep the budget low. Growth in our community will actually support a budget of a 1% or less increase. We do not need large budget increases. I tell you today, I will not support 0% increase for one reason only. It was done in the 90s for 10 consecutive years, and people ended up paying a large amount of tax in the end. You're just putting the inevitable off on somebody else's back. I will guarantee that I will only support the budget if we're 1% blended rate. That's the maximum I want to go, because there's enough growth in the Bradford that can support all the services, and we can actually build on some of those services with the growth. Every year we end up with a surplus in our budget. The reason why we end up with it is we don't take into account in our budget. We don't take into account the extra homes being built. We leave that off the table. So there's always room. I will definitely look for efficiencies like I have. I got a story for you. One first time in council, I think it was my second year, went to a budget meeting, and I think budgets are the #1 responsibility of every councillor that's elected. That's the one most important thing you need to do, is scrutinize that budget. And we go to our meeting, and it's usually a 2-day event. The meeting starts at 8:30. At 9:30, a motion was on the floor and the budget was passed. Within 1 hour, our budget went through. And I had to call another councillor and tell him not to bother showing up. It's over. That, to me, is not responsible government. We need to scrutinize these budgets and keep them under control. So you can count on me. If I'm elected your deputy mayor, I will ensure that we keep our taxation low and we spend every dollar the right way. Thank you.
Budgets. Well, I've proven what I've, in the last 4 years, what looking for efficiencies is all about. Again, you know, our police budget was on an increase of 10% per year for an average of 10 years. And that was unaffordable. And that's why I brought the motion forward to investigate our police spending. And again, the taxpayers have benefited. I'm going to continue to look for efficiencies throughout the town. It's important. You work hard for your money, as do all of us. Something that I'm also very proud of on being in this term of council, we have a leisure center that we built on or under budget. A library built on or under budget. Bridges throughout the town built, again, on or under budget. So we are looking out for your tax dollars, and that's important. And as to local businesses, we just recently, within the last year, there's a brand new 55,000 square foot building on Regan's Industrial Parkway that's open. And that's a result of hard work by some members of council to create a community improvement plan for existing service industrial lands. And now we have a new plant, instead of having a field of weeds. The field of weeds was netting us about $8,000 a year in taxes. And now we have a new plant that's netting us almost $100,000 a year in taxes. And jobs have been created there. That's what I want to do as your deputy mayor. I want to look for ways to promote business within this town. If businesses succeed and hire people, it's a benefit to our local residents if they're hired by our local company. So again, I'll work hard to respect your tax dollars, because that is the #1 priority of any member of council, and especially for a deputy mayor. Thank you.
James, I'm going to give this one to you to start. If developers are paying more than their share, why are water and sewer rates paying off development debt? Well, it played into the last question, so
Yeah, well, developers, they are kind of paying their share. We just did a review of our DCs and we come up with a new costing. I think we've added some cost of development fees. That water rate fee, that's an oxymoron to me. That's amazing. You know, we go out and we try and put a cost down for producing our water and wastewater, and then we go out and tell people to conserve water. And then we have to go back to the next year's budget and increase the cost to deliver water to you because you haven't used enough. So it's an awful tough one. We need to get that budget under control no matter what. We need to find ways to reduce the cost to producing water and wastewater. And that's where scrutinizing the budget, working hard to make sure that we are doing what we need to do in order to produce and produce the water and actually clean up the wastewater at a reasonable cost. There's some savings in there that I think we can do, and I look forward to scrutinizing the budget in the future. If elected deputy mayor, I certainly will look at that. So that's a tough one to deal with, the water and wastewater rates, because it's a tough one. Every time you guys conserve and buy the low flush toilets, we end up having to increase the cost because we're not using enough water. It's a very tough one. Thank you.
It is a tough question, and water and wastewater rates have been going up. I was asked a question out on the campaign trail if there could be a reduction in wastewater, especially with regards to the summer months, because people are washing their cars, some people washing their driveways, and watering their gardens. That's something I guess that would have to be entertained. But as to water, water obviously is life, and it's very important. And I'm proud that our water department has come to us this 4 years of council with 100% every time they've had the Ministry of Environment in to look at how are things going. Yes, it's expensive, but the quality of water that you drink is of utmost importance. And again, looking for efficiencies is also important. But we need to make sure that we have safe drinking water, and we do. And again, last 4 years, we've had 100% on all of our tests that were done by the Ministry of Environment, and we need to keep looking again for efficiencies. And as your deputy mayor, I will look for efficiencies as I have done in the past. Thank you.
I guess the short answer is that's not happening. The water system and the sewer system is completely self-funding. Whatever the system costs is what you pay, and it's based on usage. So I reject the very premise of the question. Whatever the water and wastewater system costs, that's what you pay. Now over time, what's happened post-Walkerton is those two incompetents in Walkerton are the ones most responsible for your water bills going up. If they just did their jobs, everything would be fine. Instead, the province has now layered all kinds of increased testing, all kinds of standards, all kinds of requirements, and that requires time and money, and guess who pays the bill for that? You do. One of the things I want to clear up is people laughed when James said that water use goes down so the bill goes up. It's based on the water rates will go up because your estimated use goes down. People are conserving, and that's a great thing. But if we're estimating the total cost based on average use, and average use drops, then the rate goes up. So it's not a comical thing at all. It's a great thing. It's a great problem to have, that people are using less water, that people are actually conserving. I'm very pleased that they are. Moving forward, water and wastewater, first and foremost, you have to make sure that your drinking water is safe. And as Councillor Hordyke has pointed out, we've had 100% compliance the entire time I've been mayor. And I'm proud of that. Your water's clean. Our staff do a great job. But just to sum up, ladies and gentlemen, your water bill, you are paying your share based on estimated usage, a rate that pays for the system, nothing less and nothing more. and there's no hidden fees going anywhere other than our own water and wastewater system.
We have to look at the expenditures that go towards the water bill. We have to, as councillors, during budget time, see where those costs are. Unfortunately, at budget time, the water and wastewater rates really don't get a lot of inspection, and we have to do more to oversee the costs that the urban residents have to pay for the water and wastewater rates. Part of it is the regulations that the province has brought in and the red tape. But we do have great staff. They do a terrific job. They really do care about the residents of our town and the safe drinking water that we have. So it's a matter of councillors, just for oversight, to see where efficiencies can be made and to move forward.
Well, the province says that the water is safe, and I'm very concerned about the quality of our water. The limits are dictated by the province. Water is something that countries are going to war. We're going to see people getting killed because of water. I've been getting some complaints from some of the doctors, not just in Bradford, but in Toronto, that we're not doing enough to filter some of the chemicals on this. I am extremely concerned about this, and I already started talking to some people in Toronto to find out a bit more about our safe drinking water. We have to pay for the water. Unfortunately, we have the monopoly, really. And as long as we keep those efficiencies down, so don't let those engineers go wild spending money on our system. We have to keep an eye on the budget, make sure that we're paying no more than we have to for water. Thank you.
Carl, we're going to start with you. It's a question in regards to bond head. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Article 6.1.12.1C of Amendment 16 of the town's official plan states that each precinct within the settlement area will have at least one access road location onto each abutting arterial road. These arterial roads are identified elsewhere within OPA 16 as being County Roads 27 and County Roads 88. What do you plan to do to ensure that the largest development, I'm assuming in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, the one in the southeast quadrant, will comply with OPA 16 and have two access roads, one being on County Road 27 and the other on County Road 88 before final development and construction approval is given? How'd I do? Now you can answer the question.
Great. I wish I had my drawings for the four corners of Bond Head. Something that's we've been quite involved, of course, with what's going to be happening at the four quadrants of Bond Head. And the southeast, there's also a proposed bypass that is supposed to come and take traffic from the downtown core of Bond Head and divert it to the east and around the town like a ring road. Again, I'd have to go back to look at my drawings. I would want to ensure that subdivisions do have multiple entry points for a number of reasons. One, if there, heaven forbid, there's some type of disaster that there's only one way in and one way out. We want to have as many access points for emergency vehicles, whether it be fire trucks or ambulance. And that's something, again, I would work very hard towards and seeing that there's multiple access points for all four corners, especially for the southeast being the largest one that's being proposed.
Doug, did you want to answer?
I think the question needs to be more specific. Here's my response to this. I think it's an unfair and challenging question to have that level of detail thrown at us like this. But let me answer the question to the best of my ability. Going back to 2002 in the official plan, growth was coming to the hamlet of Bondhead. That predates all of us on council. But what we had the wisdom to do that I think it was the smart thing to do, is we made sure before a single building permit was issued in the hamlet of Bondhead that there would be employment lands on Highway 400. If we didn't do that, the houses would be built and the employment might not come as early as we would want. So we insisted on that. When it comes to the arterial roads and having bypass roads, it's part of the plan. We need to stick with that. And one of the things that our staff do in every single document that comes before us is they will specify whether or not this is compliant with the official plan, whether or not this is compliant with zoning, whether or not this will have an impact on town finances. And all of these things would be specified. So before anything comes forward and there's anything that is built in Bondhead and it's not in compliance with the official plan, that would be clearly articulated in a staff report. And it would be up to council to either accept that or not accept that. But the official plan is the overriding governing document of the municipality, and it does come up for review every 5 years. So my answer to the question is, it would come in a document, council would would look at it, and then we would decide whether or not to support the staff report or not when it comes to plans of subdivision regarding Bondhead.
I think what this questioner is getting at is respect for residents when you go to a public meeting and make suggestions and you're ignored. That is what this question is about. The southeast quadrant of Bondhead, the plan of subdivision showed only one entrance into it. There was a possible future entrance onto County Road 27, but it was right through a longtime Bondhead resident's property. And the developer didn't want to deal with this longtime resident, but he wanted to barrel ahead with his plan of subdivision. So that's one of the reasons that I want to run for mayor. It's so when we have these planning meetings, we have the consultants, we have the engineers, that you as residents will be respected, your voice will be heard, we will understand that you know what's going on, you know your community. Maybe you are smarter than what the consultants are, and we will listen to you.
Good answer, Rob. My concern is not whether we're going to have the right roads, is that how much are they going to cost? The staff, some of those people I know, they are very well educated in their field. I have faith that they'll have the proper proposal and reports for us. But my concern is how much are they willing to spend to go through somebody's property? We have to respect that these people have been here for generations. There's many ways to access the property, and you don't have to go through somebody's house to do that. In Toronto, they had issues. If anybody ever goes to Toronto, there's one highway by Yorkdale that ends at Eglinton. It's the most horrible nightmare I ever go through every time I go to Toronto. And that's because at the time, the town was not able to go through somebody's property. They should have planned it better. They should have listened to the staff. Now it's too late. Let's hope that Bondhead, I've seen some of the drafts. I think it's going to be a beautiful town, and I hope that they get it right before it's too late. Thank you.
Yeah, I recall this, this issue. The meeting was well attended from the residents of Bond Head. The developer proposed a single entrance into this development, and it was supported by the majority of council. And I think in the future, if the new council, if elected new council as deputy mayor, I wouldn't do that. I think we had a debacle in with development off of the 6th line here, where we had the single entrance also. We don't want to put our residents at risk like that, and that's not prudent planning. That's not good development. We need to work with that developer, find other entrances that will accommodate that for him. And we just can't develop like that. That's not right. So in the end, we need to change that development, and I hope the future council understands this issue when they get elected, and they can see it before it becomes an official or an actual plan of subdivision. So we need to definitely get another entrance there, because we're not going to be able to do it with one entrance. That's just putting our residents at risk when we have one entrance there. So we've probably inconvenienced a lot of residents in around that area also, because they'll be running those trucks while they dig and everything off of Mulog. So we certainly don't want to do that, and we just need to find a way to work with this developer. And so, as your deputy mayor on new council, I would certainly look into this and make sure that we don't allow that development to go forward until we get the next entrance. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Carl? There is no 30 seconds on an all general. You should. Did you want a 30-second response? Rob, we'll start with you. How will you support our existing agriculture and the businesses associated with it?
Agriculture is such a large part of the economy of Bradford, West Goldenberry. And unfortunately, sometimes it feels like it's forgotten about and neglected. It's important to realize the infrastructure that's so important for agriculture. The roads, farms are getting larger. We have to design and build our roads so that it can handle large equipment. I think as town council, we really have to look at traffic circles. Farmers and traffic circles do not mix. Curbs, when we're building these streets, let's have gutters so that the farm equipment can go up over onto the shoulder instead of curbs. So there's little things like this that just shows that we're listening to the agriculture community. But there's other things we can do to make our agriculture community competitive all across North America. It'd be great to have natural gas all the way in the Holland Marsh and in the Highland farms, whether it's for greenhouses, drying operations. The cost of propane just skyrocketed this last year, and we need to work with the province. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture has made this a priority. If we're going to be in the forefront of North American agriculture and processing, we need to see that natural gas is available on all the streets and back roads of our town. And it's to listen to the agriculture community. They do have people with good ideas, and listen to them and respect them.
My grandfather was a farmer. Some of my uncles are farming now. We need to treat farming as a business, and we need to help them out. We need to come up with new ideas. We need to come out with great ideas, because food is going to be a commodity so valuable in the next 5-10 years. There's going to be people trying to move to our area because they can grow things. We're blessed. One of the reasons a bunch of volunteers created CareFest almost 15 years ago is to be thankful that we have the water, we have the land. We're so blessed. I've been to places that are just crying for rain, yet we got the best lakes here. We need to create communities that would work together with the agricultural community and support them. We are now in a global economy. We could be extremely successful at exporting our products all over the world. And I think by working together with them, we can do that. My neighbor is one of the most sophisticated farmers I know, and I've been everywhere, and I see him with the latest technology, and he's able to get a better crop because of the technology. So by helping farmers learn these technologies, we can be very productive, and we can be very competitive in the world, and thus increasing our community. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I think that was actually in my opening statement again, a strong advocate for our agricultural base, which is one of our largest industries in Bradford. So I truly support agriculture. I definitely would love to see an opportunity for a food terminal on the 400. They're looking in, Simcoe County's looking at a food terminal potentially in and around our area. We are the salad bowl of Ontario, or I'd say Canada in general. So I'd love to see something like that. I'd love to grow our agricultural community. We just had a successful event, Ribfest. I was just out talking to a couple of residents out on farms, and they said, well, what about a Veggie Fest? And I thought, what a great idea. We already do Carrot Fest, we should have a Veggie Fest. I mean, this is what we do here. We do agricultural business here, so I would love to grow that business and ensure that it's a strong, strong leader in our community. So I truly support agriculture, and I want to make sure that it's a #1 leader in our community. So I look forward to dealing with the farmers and dealing with businesses that deal with agriculture. Bring them here. We can bring, we can bring new technologies that are out there, research facilities into the 400 lands that deal directly with agriculture. So that's my focus, and I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
It's a great question. I've always supported agriculture. I spent my youth, part of my youth in the Holland Marsh. I spent part of my youth on a highland farm. So I've harvested carrots, onions, cauliflower, you name it. I've been involved with agriculture. And it is important. And our agricultural sector is very, very strong here in Bradford. You know, my chief financial officer, 4th generation farmer, John Hambley. My brother-in-law down at Caron Farms, 3rd generation. My own cousin, Doug Van Luke, also 3rd generation marsh farmer. So it is important to me. I have, no pun intended, deep roots in the agriculture industry. And I'm very proud of that. But again, as important agriculture is, we have to have a balanced community. We need to have commercial, we need to have industrial, we need to have a balanced tax base. So to me, yes, agriculture is very important and will always be part of Bradford West Gwillimbury's future, and we should do what we can to help our local farmers to make things easier. But again, also for our residents, we need to grow that tax base to keep this community affordable for everyone. Thank you.
Final word, Doug.
I'm not a farmer, but boy, have I learned a lot about it sitting on the Holland Marsh Drainage Board. I've absorbed an enormous amount. I've seen the commitment of these folks, and I've asked them, as mayor of the town, how can I help? And they've told me, #1, you need to make it easier for us to have secondary uses on our land, that we can have income coming from things other than the crops themselves, small processing, those kinds of things. The other thing they've told me is they're competing on Canal Road with commuter traffic. Those farmers want those cars off of Canal Road. They don't want to be honked at because they have a tractor on Canal Road going from one farm to the next. This is why the farmers of the marsh, more than anybody, want the 5th line interchange built so they can have Canal Road back. And we get the 3,000 commuter cars a day off of Canal Road. The other thing they've told me, and the thing that we must do, and the county is working on this, is we have to have a different definition of what basic infrastructure is now. Basic infrastructure has always been roads, water, sewer. It also has to be natural gas. It also has to be high-speed internet. Because without this in our rural area, how are these businesses going to have adequate services in that area to have businesses out of their property if they don't have access to high-speed internet, if they don't have natural gas? So we need to have that kind of servicing in our rural areas to make these kinds of things more doable.
James, just to help you out, We do have a veggie fest. It's called Soup Fest. It's actually on this Saturday. Just to help you out, Bradford's part of that. And there's lots of good stuff there. By the way, it starts at 11, closes at 4. You're all welcome to come along. Soup available. Soup and Salad Bowl of Ontario. I did promise you folks I'd get you out of here. I almost am so tempted to ask one question of the mayoral candidates. Can I get one question in before I let them finish up? Is there a consensus? Yes. Right on. You folks have been very good tonight. I have a fun question from one of our younger people. This is to the mayoral candidates only. So Carl, James, I'm sorry, I'm taking a break. Will the mayoral candidates commit right now to serve a full term as mayor, or are you planning to seek another elected office if the opportunity arises? And that's part A. And then part B is how or what relationship do you have with the provincial government now that we have a majority? By the way, that was not written by me. You know what, Herman? Why don't you start?
That's a loaded question. The answer is yes, I'd like to stay for the full term. And just like the developers, I'm not attached to any political party, so I cannot be swayed one way or another. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
If I'm elected as mayor, I'll work for you for the full 4 years. It would be quite an honor, and I'd be humbled, and I'd work as hard as I could, listen as much as I could, and do as much as I could to move our town forward. The second part of that question, I have a pretty good relationship with all the different politicians. During the last little while, because Kathleen Wynn's sister does live in Bradford, West Gwillimbury on Simcoe Road, I have had the opportunity to meet with her different times. At any of the conventions that I go to, I make a point to go up and talk to her. She knows who I am. She knows I'm from Bradford. She knows I'm a dairy farmer. And we have something to talk about. So that's a relationship that I've worked on at the International Plowing Match just a week and a half ago. I had another opportunity to talk to the Premier and different cabinet ministers. The Minister of Finance, when I said I was a dairy farmer, he was walking away and he turned at his heel and he said, my assistant, he grew up on a dairy farm. He helps his parents, still on a dairy farm. He's so hard on me, making me get to work on time, be up early in the morning, and do half a day's work before lunchtime. So that's the type of relationship I have with the provincial government. So it is a partnership between the town and the other levels of government. And I'll work with that relationship and work with the other levels of government to better our town.
To the first part of the question, I plan to honor my 4-year commitment, just as I did the first 2 times. Regarding a relationship I have with the provincial government, it's my job to have a relationship with all governments. And during my tenure as mayor, I've met a number of times with 2 premiers, 2 leaders of the opposition, a leader of the third party. I've met with about 30 cabinet ministers. I've lobbied for the greater interests of our municipality, and I think it's important, it's critical, that no matter which party is in Queen's Park, that you have a mayor that will strongly lobby for the best interests of our community, and I've been doing that for the last 8 years.
Before we give the candidates their concluding statements, I think all of you deserve a round of applause for being here. This was a remarkable showing. Give yourselves a big round. We beat capacity, no fires took place, you guys were fantastic. We still had 14 questions left, so if you didn't get your question in, I do apologize for that. We're going to be starting with James. They get 2 minutes to conclude.
Thank you. I'd like to start by saying thank you to my colleagues and honored residents for attending tonight and allowing me to speak with you. As a longtime resident of our community, past president, current member of the Bradford Lions Club, and a dedicated fundraiser, in addition to a volunteer to a highly successful Bradford Santa Claus Parade, I'm looking to elevate my level of commitment to Bradford West Gwillimbury for running for Deputy Mayor. When elected, I will serve as a strong advocate for our community on County Council. I have been a strong voice on local council for the past 8 years, fighting for responsible fiscal spending, job creation, and ensure responsible growth in both business and residential sectors. Behind the scenes, there are budgets to be passed, bylaws to be passed, and many operational and administrative details that require thought-out decisions. As your deputy mayor, I will continue to advocate for the above issues, as well as increased government transparency, more affordable housing for our senior population, and preservation of our historic roots throughout Bradford, West Gwillimbury. Remember, a vote for James Leduc as your deputy mayor is a vote for a strong voice on behalf of the Bradford West Gwillimbury residents. On October 27th, vote James Leduc, your voice for deputy mayor, to continue to build an even better Bradford West Gwillimbury. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, James. Carl?
I start by thank you all for your questions and your support. Earlier I covered some of my initiatives that I supported over the last 4 years. Now I want to talk about the next 4. I think we need to believe in our future, just like our ancestors did, and believe it today. They hoped, they dreamed that things would be better, and they are. Now we must move forward. Sober thought is required to appreciate the plans which got us to where we are today, and which, with proper leadership, will direct us to a bright, comfortable, and affordable future. It is easy for others to criticize and complain that not enough was done, that they could have done it better, or they should allow to change everything. I just don't agree. The old saying about changing horses in midstream is true today, as it has been in the past. My positions were always clear at the council table. My thoughts were open, honest. My loyalty was to the taxpayer, and I promised to behave the exact same way if elected to our deputy mayor. We must keep working together on important plans that were set in motion years ago. We may have to tweak them, we may have to adjust them as required. Those plans spoke of a balanced community. Those plans spoke of jobs, employment lands. Those plans spoke of more people to call neighbors, more factories to bring jobs, more commercial industrial tax base that will provide the town money to keep it affordable, recreation centers, libraries, medical centers, and public transportation. We must keep updating our plans, but we don't need to scrap them. A few weeks ago, my opponent voted against a critical vote to move forward with the progress of this town. I didn't. I supported that, and I promised to continue to work hard to make things better for every resident in Bradford West Gwillimbury. I make decisions that benefit the majority of people, and my campaign catchphrase is Carl cares, and I really do about this town. Thank you.
Doug?
I want to thank everybody for coming. I think it's really important that you have this opportunity to see candidates express their views in a forum like this. I want to thank the Holland Marsh Growers, Jamie, and I want to thank the BBT, the Bradford Board of Trade, for organizing this. Let's give it up for them. Welcome. I think the most important quality that a lot of people seek, whether you're a mayor or a deputy mayor or a member of council, is to do what you say you're going to do. Do you have a plan? Do you stick to the plan? Do you make it happen? Do you work with others to make it happen? And I think that, that's the leadership I've provided over the last term of council. And for me, I have a question for all of you. I want you to look back to 2010 and compare it to the town we have today. And ask yourself the question, is Bradford better today than it was 4 years ago? I submit to you that it is. We now have a leisure center. 700,000 people walk through the doors of that building every single year. We have a new library. In a town of 30,000 people, we have 20,000 cardholders. We have improved our roads and bridges. We have a bus service. We are improving the Holland Marsh Canal so that it can withstand a major storm. We're protecting it for generations. And we've managed to do all of these things by keeping the lid on tax increases. Ladies and gentlemen, your taxes under my mayoralty have gone up $85 on average a year over the last 8 years. In contrast, the average home price, the average sale price of a home in Bradford has gone up $23,000 a year. That's because we have been successful. Council has been successful in building a livable community, one that is desired by those that are starting out and buying their first home. That's why people stay. And in the next 4 years, that's what I pledge to you. Bradford in 4 years' time will be even better than it is today. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Thank you very much.
I am running to be your mayor because I believe we can build a better town, not just a bigger town. And because I believe I have the better plan to do just that. My plan is more practical, more deliverable, and more common sense. It plays to our existing strengths to grow our local economy. I will focus on achieving results, not making big promises. My plan will invest to beautify the town and refurbish our older recreation facilities, starting right here by fixing up the ball diamond soccer fields and converting this recreation center into a beautiful resource for our families. I will build new trails and really revitalize the eastern entrance into town and keep revitalizing the old town, working with the residents there. I will also get our spending under control and do a line-by-line audit of the budget to find savings while making developers pay their fair share. That way we can keep taxes low. I will look after the neglected areas of the town that have been sort of set aside over the past 8 years, like seniors housing and heritage preservation, and some of the streets and sidewalks that need repairs. I've outlined how I will achieve these goals clearly and thoroughly on my website. I'm the candidate with the thoughtful policies, local business experience, and volunteer track record in place so you can have confidence that I will deliver for you as our new mayor. I'm excited about building a better town with you and for you. On October 27th, I hope I can earn your support.
Wow, it was 4 years ago when I organized the last debate, or one of the last debates, sorry. So I was on that side of the table. It was a lot less, it was cooler. The heat is on. I'd like to thank you for coming tonight. It shows that you are committed, you're interested, and you are stepping forward. You heard a lot from us tonight, and I heard a lot from you in the last few months. Some of the answers that I heard, I knew. Some of them were a total shock to me. We must be creative and responsible going forward. I'm here to help develop our community into a community that everyone can be proud to live in. We must recognize our volunteers, our athletes, our painters. And last but not least, we need to recognize our existing businesses. We should not leave them alone. We need to help them out. The competition is coming. We need to have a balanced business world here in town. I'd like to thank the Growers Association and the Bradford Broader Trade. I know they work hard and they're volunteers, and I know that we need more. I was so upset years ago when some of the volunteer groups in town were canceled. The amount of dollars that our volunteers provide to our community, it's in the thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Together, the people of Bradford, West Wellandbury, our town staff, the entire council, together we can make this town a great and vibrant community. On October 27, vote Hernan Burgos for mayor. Thank you.
like to take this opportunity on behalf of both organizations to thank all the candidates that were here. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.